So I'm back here with my good friend Rich Norton, and of course, Rich is just hanging out in his car, and we're just recording these back-to-back episodes, which has been a lot of fun as always. And today, Rich, we're going to talk about a word that I don't know if you created it. You're the first person I ever heard use it, but I've used it many times since you shared it with me, and that's the word residualitis. So, what is
Yes,
residualitis, Rich?
that's a great question. I was doing a speech at one of our summits beginning of the year, several years ago, and I was talking about people that stop growing. And I said there's a killer disease of all success. And when you get into that whole comfort level, and it's called residualitis. And what does that mean? It's like, okay, I've got to a certain level. And that's one of the beauties of this business because we can get to a certain point, whether it's 30,000, we set a goal, 30,000 a month, 50,000 a month, whatever that number is. And then it's like, okay, I've got residual itis right now, where now I'm just going to get in my comfort zone, which is fine. You can do that for a little while. But I've always had the philosophy, and people ask me, why do you keep working? Because my attitude is you can either keep growing because there's no other way. You can't stay neutral. Either you're growing or you're going backwards. So what it boils down to really is just setting more goals. If you gotten to a certain point, that's fine. That can be a blessing, but it also can be a curse in
Yeah,
this industry because we do have attrition too. And one of the things that I have seen a lot is people do get to a certain level, then they completely stop working. And some have been a year, 2 years, 3 years, and they try to climb back into the industry, and they're like, wow, a lot of things have changed. And you and I have
right.
seen that, especially
Yep.
over the last couple of years. I go back to selling one credit card machine, and that was it. Now it's all over the place, technology everywhere. And they have a difficult time jumping back in because, number one, they've lost their confidence, they've lost the mojo. And that's
Right.
the hardest part of getting back, is getting that momentum back. You got to grind through it. I've had counseling sessions with people. It's like, man, it's so hard. You got to grind through it. It's almost like you're
Yeah.
getting punished for taking too much time off. Stick to it, get back out there, and eventually things will fall into place. But yes, I see a lot of that in
Yeah.
this industry, and that happens a lot.
Yeah, yeah, and Rich, one of the things I've kind of changed my tune on this a little bit over the last few years. I used to talk about kind of, hey, everybody has this different definition of success, which I can completely respect that. And you get to a certain level, and it's like this is the level I wanted to get to, and all that. And that sounds good, but I'll tell you the problem with that. The problem with that idea is I have had hundreds and hundreds of Zooms and calls with agents who are very successful in this industry. And I gotta be honest with you, Rich. I'm still waiting to talk to that agent who hasn't worked for a year that's really happy and fulfilled. I haven't
Yes.
I haven't talked to them yet. Now I've talked to dozens and dozens of people who you would think, well, this person must be just the happiest, happy as a clam. I mean, they make 30, 40, $50,000 a month, in residual income, but they're not. And I've talked to many, many, many of them that are like, James, how do I raise the bar? And so I'll have this conversation with them and I'll say, well, what are you making now? And they'll say, I'm making 20,000 a month. And I'm like, okay, well, if you were making 40,000 a month, what would you do with the extra 20 grand? And what I find, Rich, is usually they have no idea. And I'm like, well, that's why. That's why you have residualitis. That's why you're stuck. Like, is there a charity that you'd like to give to? Is there a different school you'd put your kids into? Is there a different house you'd move into? Is there a cause that you care about? I don't know. So I think this definition of success is, of course, different for everybody, but I think everybody's definition of success needs to include growth and significance, right? So I don't know if what your thoughts are on that, Rich, but I've really just seen that,
100%. Yes, yeah, 100%. And if you woke up in the morning, you got a purpose,
Right.
And I look at when my dad retired. My dad was blue collar, was in the Navy, worked building submarines. He retired at 65, and then he woke up in the morning with no purpose anymore. And studies show that most people that once they retire without a purpose, unfortunately, pass away 6 years later. And that's what happened with my dad. And I see that no matter what level that we get to, always have a purpose. And again, people ask me, when are you going to retire? I'm like, man, I feel better than ever. I feel younger than ever. I got more energy than most people half my age. I love my life. I love getting up in the morning. And you make a great point. it's all about giving is what it really is. If you find the
Right.
people that have the most joy in life are the people that give. When you can just help other people. I see when I'm spending time with my family, I've got grand boys, and they're just a blessing to watch them filled with joy and to be able to bless my family and to bless strangers. And you and I
Yep.
have talked. My goal is to give $1 million away each year. And I'm
Yep.
getting closer and closer,
Yeah.
and that's no greater joy than that right there. So again, it's way beyond just making money. I've had people ask, how much money is enough? I'm like, well, you could always make more and give it away. Like
Right.
you said, and what would you do with 20,000 extra? Boy, you can do some great things in this world if
Yeah.
you were able to give that away. So it keeps getting better. I always say that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So, Rich, for those who have been listening into this episode and they've been listening to these, little clips we've been doing, they want to contact you. They want to learn more about what you're doing, about your team. Give them the information they need to learn more.
Absolutely. This is an amazing opportunity. If you're the type of individual that you'd like to have a great opportunity and you can have mentors and people around you that can teach you this business, that's what we have. That's what I believe is the difference between us and everybody else. So call me 904-434-4635, or you can email payrock, Payrock Rich Norton at gmail.com. I'd be happy to talk with you.